The sound of Mason's laughter drifts through the open French doors, mingling with the salty breeze from our new beachfront property. I pause at the threshold, wine glasses balanced in my hands, when his words slice through the evening air. Of course the beach house will be yours, Chloe. Consider it my wedding gift to you and Ryan. The glasses nearly slip from my grip. I steady myself against the doorframe, my fingers turning white around the stems. Inside my chest, something cracks, not cleanly, but in jagged pieces that tear at my insides. I'm Brielle, and I've just discovered my husband is giving away our dream home to his sister. The barbecue smoke curls around the patio where Mason and Chloe sit, heads bent close together like conspiring children. She's wearing that innocent expression she always uses when she's getting her way, wide eyes, slightly parted lips, hands clasped under her chin. I've seen it too many times before. Mason, you're the best brother ever. Chloe squeals, throwing her arms around his neck. Ryan and I can start our family here, just like we always talked about. The family I wanted to start here. The family Mason and I had planned for these past 3 years while we saved every penny. I set the glasses down on the outdoor table with enough force to make them ring. Mason looks up, his smile faltering when he sees my face. Hey, honey. I was just telling Chloe. I heard what you were telling Chloe. My voice comes out steady, surprising even me. Could we talk inside for a moment? In the kitchen, I lean against our marble countertop, the one I spent months picking out, imagining future family breakfasts around it. Mason follows, running a hand through his hair, his tell when he knows he's screwed up. Before you say anything, he starts, I know I should have discussed it with you first. Discussed? I laugh, but there's no humor in it. Mason, we spent 5 years saving for this house. Our house. The one we're still unpacking boxes in. The one where we talked about raising our children. He steps closer, reaching for my hand. I pull away. Chloe and Ryan need it more than we do. They're just starting out, and with the wedding expenses. And what about us? What about what we need? We can always buy another house, he says, as if he's offering me a replacement for a broken coffee mug. Chloe's my sister. I promised our parents I'd always take care of her. The worst part is how reasonable he thinks he sounds. How he genuinely believes this is normal. I look at him, really look at him, and for the first time, I see something I've been avoiding for years. The man I married lives in Chloe's shadow, and he's perfectly content to drag me there with him. Your sister is 26 years old, Mason. She has a successful career, a wealthy fiancé, and somehow she still needs her big brother to give her a house. Our house. You don't understand. No, I understand perfectly. I reach for my phone. I'm calling Jessica. I'm staying with her tonight. Now panic flashes across his face. Brielle, don't be dramatic. We can work this out. Dramatic? I turn back to him, my voice barely above a whisper. You just gave away our home without consulting me. You betrayed everything we built together. And you think I'm being dramatic? Outside, Chloe's laughter floats through the window again, light, carefree, victorious. I wonder if she planned this, if she saw our beautiful beach house and decided she wanted it for herself. It wouldn't be the first time she's taken something of mine. But as I pack an overnight bag, listening to Mason's desperate attempts to explain himself, I realize something. This isn't just about a house anymore. This is about respect, about partnership, about the future I thought we were building together. And for the first time in our marriage, I'm not sure that future exists anymore. Jessica's spare bedroom feels like a sanctuary after 3 days of dodging Mason's calls. I sit cross-legged on the bed, scrolling through old photos on my phone when a particular image stops me cold, my wedding day, 5 years ago. Chloe stands between Mason and me in the photo, her arm wrapped possessively around his waist. I brought wine, Jessica announces, pushing open the door. She takes one look at my face and sets the glasses down. Oh honey, not the wedding photos. I keep trying to pinpoint when it started. I zoom in on Chloe's face. The way she slowly took over everything. You mean like your honeymoon? The memory hits me like a punch to the gut. 2 days before our departure to Bali, Chloe had a crisis with her boyfriend. Mason insisted we postpone our trip to help her through it. We never did reschedule. My phone buzzes, another text from Mason, can we please talk about this? I made dinner reservations at Marino's. Marino's, I scoff, showing Jessica the message. That's Chloe's favorite restaurant, not mine. Speaking of Chloe. Jessica hesitates, swirling her wine. Ryan came by my office today. I sit up straighter. Ryan? Chloe's fiancé. He wanted to know if you were okay. And? She takes a deep breath. He said Chloe's been pressuring Mason about the house for months. She apparently told him it was her idea to buy it in the first place. The wine glass trembles in my hand. What? There's more. Ryan said she's been showing the house to interior designers, making plans to renovate. She's acting like it's already hers. My mind races back to 3 months ago, when Chloe suddenly became obsessed with helping us house hunt. How she'd insisted on coming to every viewing, how she'd gushed about this particular property. I'd thought she was being supportive. The doorbell rings, and Jessica peers through the window. It's Mason. I don't want to see him. Too late. He's using his key. Mason appears in the doorway, looking disheveled in his wrinkled work shirt. Brielle, please. Just hear me out. Jessica stands. I'll give you 2 a minute. She shoots me a look that says she'll be right outside if I need her. You look terrible, I tell him, not moving from the bed. I miss you. He steps closer. Come home. We can figure this out. Figure what out, Mason? How to fit my life around Chloe's wants. How to pretend I'm okay with being second place in my own marriage. That's not fair. Not fair. I pull up our banking app. Then explain why you transferred $20,000 to Chloe last month without telling me. His face pales. How did you? Joint accounts, remember? The money we were saving for furniture. Let me guess, another crisis. She needed help with the wedding deposits, he stammers. She was going to pay us back. I laugh, but it comes out more like a sob. Like she paid us back for her car. Or her rent last year. Or the emergency credit card you gave her. She's family. And what am I, Mason? The silence stretches between us like a chasm. Outside, a car door slams, and Chloe's voice carries up to the window. Mason? Are you up there? Of course she followed him here. She never could stand not being the center of attention. Don't, I warn as he moves toward the door. But he's already calling down to her. I'll be right there, Chloe. And there it is, the moment crystallizes everything. He's already turning away from me, already responding to her call like a puppet on strings. I see our entire marriage laid bare in this single instant. Mason, I say quietly, if you walk out that door to her right now, don't expect me to be here when you come back. He hesitates, hand on the doorknob. For a moment, I see conflict in his eyes. Then Chloe calls again, and the choice is made. It's always been made. As his footsteps fade down the stairs, Jessica reappears with her laptop. Ready to look up divorce lawyers. I wipe my eyes, straightening my spine. Actually, I have a better idea. Pull up our bank statements from the past year. If Chloe wants to play games, let's see how she likes having her secrets exposed. The spreadsheet on Jessica's laptop screen tells a story more damning than I could have imagined. Each transaction, each hidden withdrawal paints a picture of systematic betrayal spanning years. My hands shake as I scroll through the evidence. $187,000, Jessica whispers. That's how much Mason has given Chloe over the past 3 years. The number hits me like a physical blow. Our entire savings. The down payment for the beach house. And look at these credit card statements. Jessica points to a series of charges. Designer boutiques, spa weekends, first-class flights, all on your joint account. My phone vibrates. Ryan's name flashes on the screen. I answer, putting it on speaker. Brielle, we need to talk, he says, his voice tight. Chloe just announced she's planning our wedding reception at your beach house. In 2 months. Jessica and I exchange looks. 2 months. I thought the wedding was next year. It was. She moved it up yesterday, said Mason agreed to handle all the costs. He pauses. There's something else. I found divorce papers in her desk drawer. They're dated 3 months ago. The room tilts sideways. She's already divorced. She never told me she was married before. When I confronted her, she said it wasn't important. That's when I started digging. His voice drops lower. Brielle, she's done this before. Married a wealthy guy, drained him dry, then vanished. Her real name isn't even Chloe. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. The way she pushed for this specific house. The rushed wedding. Mason's blind devotion. Does Mason know? No. And Brielle. Ryan hesitates. She's already listed the beach house for sale. My vision goes red. Without thinking, I grab my keys. Jessica grabs my arm. Where are you going? To the beach house. Mason needs to see this. I'll drive, Jessica says, taking my keys. You're in no state. The drive feels endless. When we pull up to the house, Mason's car is in the driveway next to Chloe's new Mercedes, the one he must have bought her with our savings. Through the front window, I see them in the living room. Chloe's showing something on her phone to Mason, who's nodding with that familiar, devoted expression. My stomach turns. I burst through the door, clutching the printed bank statements. How long have you known? They both jump. Chloe recovers first, her face arranging itself into concerned innocence. Known what, sweetie? Drop the act. I slap the papers onto the coffee table. Your real name is Sarah Mitchell. You've been married 3 times. You're a con artist. The color drains from Mason's face. What are you talking about? Show him, I tell Chloe. Show him the divorce papers in your desk. Tell him about the house listing. For a moment, Chloe's mask slips. Something cold and calculating flashes in her eyes. Then she starts to cry, turning to Mason. She's lying. She's just jealous of our relationship. But Mason's staring at the bank statements, his hands trembling. These withdrawals. Chloe. It's not what you think. Your wedding was 3 months ago, I cut in. To a real estate developer in Seattle. You cleaned out his accounts too, didn't you? Mason stumbles backward like he's been hit. Is it true? Chloe's tears vanish instantly. She straightens, something ugly twisting her beautiful features. You made it so easy, she says, her voice different now, harder, colder. Both of you. Poor, devoted Mason, still trying to save his baby sister. And you, Brielle, so desperate to be the perfect wife. She grabs her purse, heading for the door. The house goes on the market next week. My lawyer will be in touch. As she leaves, Mason crumples onto the couch, his whole world visibly shattering. Part of me wants to comfort him, but a stronger part knows this isn't my role anymore. I'll have my lawyer contact you about divorce proceedings, I say quietly, turning to leave. Brielle, wait, his voice breaks. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I pause at the door, not looking back. That's the problem, Mason. You never wanted to know. The police station's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across Detective Torres's desk as she spreads out the documents. 5 photos of different women, all bearing Chloe's face, all under different names. Sarah Mitchell is just one alias, Torres explains. We've been tracking her for years. She's hit at least 4 other families across 3 states. My coffee goes cold in my hands as I study the pictures. And Mason? Your husband isn't the first brother she's manipulated. She finds vulnerable families, usually with protective male relatives, and exploits their emotional bonds. She taps one photo. This victim lost his entire retirement fund trying to help her. The door opens and Ryan steps in, looking exhausted. The beach house listing went live this morning. Asking price is $800,000. Double what we paid, I whisper. My phone buzzes, another message from Mason. I've been ignoring them since yesterday's confrontation. Detective Torres leans forward. We need your help, Mrs. Carter. Your evidence of the financial fraud could help us build a case, but you need me to keep playing along, I finish. To act like I don't know anything. Just until we can trace where she's moving the money. Ryan paces behind me. She's meeting with potential buyers tomorrow. If she sells that house before we stop her. She won't. My voice sounds stronger than I feel. Because I'm going to that showing. Back at Jessica's, I sort through my closet, pulling out the expensive dress Chloe once insisted I buy. Perfect for real estate networking, she'd said. The irony isn't lost on me now. Jessica watches from the doorway. Are you sure about this? Playing her game is dangerous. She's played me for 3 years. I slip on the dress, checking my reflection. Time to return the favor. My phone rings, Mason again. This time, I answer. The police are looking for her, he says immediately. They came to my office. Why didn't you tell me you were pressing charges? Like you would have believed me. I believe you now. I've been going through old photos, documents. God, Brielle, I've been such a fool. Yes, I say simply. You have. Let me help make this right. Please. I close my eyes, remembering all the times he chose her over me. All the dreams we built that she systematically destroyed. The house showing is tomorrow at 2, I tell him. If you want to make things right, be there. But not for me, for all the other families she's destroyed. The next day, I arrive early to find Chloe already charming a group of potential buyers. She falters slightly when she sees me, but recovers quickly. Brielle. How lovely to see you. Her smile is razor sharp. Though I'm not sure why you're here. Oh, I'm just protecting my investment. I match her tone. You know, like you taught me. Understanding flashes in her eyes, followed by something darker. She pulls me aside, dropping her voice. You can't stop this sale. The paperwork's already drawn up. Under which name? I ask sweetly. Sarah? Jennifer? Or should I ask your previous husbands? For the first time, real fear crosses her face. She glances at the buyers, then back at me. You're bluffing. Detective Torres sends her regards. The front door opens. Mason walks in, followed by Ryan and 2 plainclothes officers. Chloe's mask cracks completely. Mason, she starts, reaching for him. Whatever they told you. But Mason steps back, his face hard. It's over, Chloe. Or whatever your real name is. As the officers move forward, Chloe turns to me, her expression twisting into something ugly. You really think this changes anything? He'll always choose family first. He'll always. You're right, I interrupt. He will always choose family. But you? I smile, watching the handcuffs click around her wrists. You were never really family, were you? 3 days after Chloe's arrest, Mason shows up at Jessica's doorstep with a stack of papers. His hands tremble as he holds them out. The police found these in her storage unit, he says. Documents from all her previous targets. He stumbles over the last word. There's more, Brielle. So much more. I take the papers but don't invite him in. The documents reveal a pattern spanning 8 years, not 3. Families destroyed, lives ruined, all meticulously documented in Chloe's elegant handwriting. She kept trophies, Mason continues, his voice hollow. Photos of the houses she took, bank statements, even wedding rings. Why are you showing me this? Because I found this. He pulls out a photograph, me and Mason on our wedding day. On the back, in Chloe's handwriting, target acquired. Estimated value, 1.2 M. The world tilts sideways. She planned this from the beginning. I was never her brother. Mason's voice cracks. She researched me for months before orchestrating our chance meeting. Created an entire backstory. Even hired actors to play her parents at family gatherings. My phone buzzes, Detective Torres. Chloe's requesting a deal, she says when I answer. She'll return all the stolen assets if you drop the charges. Mason's eyes meet mine, pleading. We could get everything back. Start over. Start over. The laugh that escapes me sounds foreign to my own ears. There is no starting over, Mason. You gave her our life savings. Our home. Our future children's college fund. I'll make it right. No. I thrust the papers back at him. You don't get to make this right. You don't get to play the victim. Then what do you want? I want a divorce. The words hang between us like shattered glass. Mason steps back as if I've struck him. Brielle, please. We can fix this. Fix what? Your judgment. Your loyalty. The fact that you chose a stranger over your wife because she played the role of family better than I could. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Ryan. Turn on the news, he says without preamble. The TV flickers to life, showing Chloe in her orange jumpsuit, speaking to reporters. I was manipulated, she's saying, tears streaming down her face. My brother Mason forced me to participate in his scheme. He threatened me, controlled all the accounts. Mason's face drains of color. She's lying. Of course she is. I grab my keys. And you're going to help me prove it. At the police station, Detective Torres plays us the rest of Chloe's statement. She's crafted an elaborate tale of Mason as the mastermind, herself as the unwitting pawn. She's offering documented proof, Torres explains. Emails, recordings, bank transfers in your name. She forged them, Mason protests. Probably. But it'll take months to prove that. Meanwhile, she's painting herself as a victim of domestic coercion. The DA's considering her deal. I watch Mason crumble under the weight of this final betrayal. Part of me wants to comfort him, but a stronger part remembers every time he dismissed my concerns, every time he chose her. I'll testify, he says finally. About everything. The real timeline, the manipulation, all of it. That would mean admitting to criminal negligence, Torres warns. You could face charges. Mason looks at me, really looks at me, for the first time in years. I don't care. I owe Brielle the truth. But I'm already walking away, pulling divorce papers from my bag, papers I had drawn up the day after Chloe's arrest. Sign these first, I tell him. Then you can tell whatever truth you want. Brielle. The truth is, Mason, I don't care anymore if you go to jail. I don't care if Chloe wins again. I just want out. I leave the papers on Torres's desk, walking out of the station into the bright afternoon sun. Behind me, I hear Mason calling my name, but for the first time, I don't turn around. Some betrayals, I've learned, can't be undone with truth or justice. Some wounds only heal when you stop trying to understand them and simply walk away. The courtroom feels colder than it should in August. I sit rigid in my chair as Chloe's lawyer presents another piece of evidence, photos of Mason and me arguing, carefully dated and annotated. Each image tells a story of manipulation and control, but not the one they claim. Your Honor, Chloe's lawyer continues, these documents clearly show that Mr. Carter orchestrated the entire scheme, using both his wife and his vulnerable sister as pawns. Mason sits 3 rows behind me, head bowed. He testified yesterday, confessing everything, but Chloe's legal team painted him as an unreliable witness attempting to save himself. The judge reviews the documents. And the beach house. A property purchased through coercion, Your Honor. My client was forced to participate in the fraud under threat of violence. My lawyer stands. Objection, Your Honor. There's no evidence. Evidence right here, Chloe's lawyer interrupts, producing a recording. Mason's voice fills the courtroom, the house will be yours, Chloe. I promise. Whatever it takes. The recording cuts off there, conveniently missing the context, Mason's manipulation by Chloe. But the damage is done. I watch the judge's expression shift. During recess, Detective Torres pulls me aside. They're offering a deal. Chloe keeps the beach house and drops all charges against Mason. In exchange, you withdraw your complaint. She wins again, I whisper. She's good at this game, Torres admits. We found 6 other cases, but each time she walked away clean. The victims were too embarrassed or broken to fight. Jessica squeezes my hand. You're not broken. But aren't I? Our savings gone, our dream house about to be legally handed to a con artist, and my marriage. I glance at Mason, who looks like he's aged 10 years in 2 weeks. There's something else, Torres adds quietly. We found evidence that Chloe's planning to sell the house to an overseas buyer. Once that money leaves the country, we'll never see it again. Back in the courtroom, Chloe takes the stand. She's transformed herself, gone are the designer clothes and perfect makeup. Instead, she wears a simple dress, her face bare and vulnerable. I was scared, she testifies, voice trembling. Mason said if I didn't help him, he'd make sure I lost everything. Brielle knew. She helped him plan it all. The lie hits me like a physical blow. I start to stand, but my lawyer pulls me back. Let her talk, he whispers. She's getting sloppy. And he's right. As Chloe continues her performance, small inconsistencies emerge. Dates that don't match. Details that contradict her earlier statements. But will it be enough? During her cross-examination, my phone buzzes. A text from Ryan, check your email. Now. I open it under the table. There's a video attachment, security footage from the beach house. It shows Chloe meeting with someone, speaking animatedly. The timestamp is from last week, while she was supposedly in custody. She posted bail, Torres whispers, appearing beside me. Used it to arrange the house sale. I forward the video to my lawyer, who immediately requests a recess. But before he can speak, Chloe's voice cuts through the courtroom. I want to change my statement. Everyone freezes. Chloe stands, but something's different. Her mask of vulnerability has cracked, revealing something harder beneath. The truth is, she announces, none of them knew what they were dealing with. Not Mason, not Brielle, not any of them. They were all so desperate to believe in family, in love, in redemption. She laughs, the sound brittle. It made them perfect targets. The courtroom erupts. As officers move to restrain her, Chloe locks eyes with me. The house is already sold, she says. Papers signed yesterday. You can have your victory, Brielle, but I still win. I watch them lead her away, feeling hollow. We've exposed her, stopped her from hurting others, but at what cost? Everything we worked for, everything we dreamed of, is still gone. Mason approaches hesitantly. Brielle. I stand, gathering my things. Don't. Just, don't. Outside, rain begins to fall. I step into it, letting it wash over me, wondering how victory can feel so much like defeat. The beach house looms before me, dark against the setting sun. Detective Torres's words echo in my head, we traced the buyer. It's one of Chloe's previous victims, a man named Daniel Harrison. He's flying in tonight to close the deal. I grip the steering wheel, watching Mason's car pull up behind mine. He steps out, looking uncertain. You're sure about this? He asks through my window. No, I answer honestly. But it's our last chance. Inside, the house feels different. Empty picture hooks dot the walls where our photos once hung. Chloe's designer furniture fills the spaces, staged perfectly for the sale. Ryan appears from the kitchen. Harrison's flight lands in an hour. Chloe's meeting him here to finalize everything. She doesn't know you're involved. I ask. No. She thinks I'm still the devoted fiancé. His smile is bitter. 5 years she's been doing this. 5 years of destroying families, and Harrison was her first victim. Lost everything to her, his home, his savings, his relationship with his kids. A car's headlights sweep across the windows. We quickly move to our positions, Ryan in the kitchen, Mason upstairs, me in the darkness of the living room. Chloe enters like she owns the place, which legally, she still does. She's back in designer clothes, her mask of vulnerability discarded. Daniel, she calls out. I thought we said 8 o'clock. He's running late, Ryan steps out, making her jump. Traffic from the airport. Her eyes narrow. What are you doing here? Watching you work. It's fascinating, really. The way you select your targets, build their trust, then tear everything apart. Ryan, darling, you're not making sense. But there's an edge to her voice now. 5 years ago, I say, stepping into the light. You convinced Daniel Harrison you were his long-lost daughter. She spins toward me, composure cracking. You don't. Then 3 years ago, you played grieving widow to the Peterson family in Seattle. Mason's voice carries from the stairs. Before targeting me as your long-lost brother. Chloe's hand moves to her purse, but Ryan's faster. He grabs it, pulling out her phone and a small recorder. Looking for this. He holds up a USB drive. Your insurance policy. All those recordings of Mason supposedly threatening you. You went through my things. For the first time, real fear crosses her face. Actually, a new voice says from the doorway, he gave them to me. Daniel Harrison steps into the house, followed by Detective Torres and 2 officers. He's older than in the photos I've seen, grief and anger etched deep in his face. Hello, Sarah, he says quietly. Or is it Chloe now? Chloe's mask shatters completely. She lunges for the door, but the officers catch her arms. The house is sold, she spits at me. Signed and done. You can't. Check the paperwork, Harrison interrupts. The buyer's name is Daniel Harrison. I bought back the house you stole from my family, at half its value, thanks to your rush to sell. And I'm giving it back to its rightful owners. He holds out a folder to me. Inside are transfer documents, already signed. Why? I whisper. Because someone needed to stop her. And because sometimes, the only way to heal old wounds is to help prevent new ones. As the officers lead Chloe away, she locks eyes with Mason one last time. You promised to protect me, she says, voice breaking. You promised. No, Mason replies. I promised to protect my family. I just took too long to realize who that really was. We stand in silence as the police cars pull away. Harrison touches my shoulder gently. The house is yours again, he says. Do better with it than I did. I look at Mason, seeing the weight of everything we've lost, and everything we might still save. We will, I promise, but I'm not sure if I'm talking to Harrison or myself. Some wounds need more than justice to heal. Some houses need more than new owners to become homes again. But as I stand in our reclaimed space, watching the sun set through windows that are ours once more, I realize that maybe, just maybe, this is where healing begins. The beach house key feels heavier in my hand as I unlock the door one last time. Harrison's offer to return the property sits unsigned on my kitchen counter at Jessica's. The morning sun streams through windows still marked with Chloe's decorating plans, her elegant handwriting mapping out a future that never belonged to her. My footsteps echo through empty rooms as Detective Torres's words from yesterday replay in my mind. Chloe took a plea deal. She'll serve time, but more importantly, she's agreed to help other victims recover their assets. I trace my fingers along the kitchen counter where Mason and I once planned our future family. A noise behind me makes me turn. I thought I'd find you here. Mason stands in the doorway, holding a cardboard box. The last of your things from the old house. I accept the box without looking inside. Thank you. Have you decided? About Harrison's offer? I'm selling it, I say quietly. To a young couple. First-time buyers, like we were. Something flickers across Mason's face. You're not keeping it. Some houses carry too many ghosts. I set the box down, pulling out Harrison's transfer papers. I already signed. They're closing next week. Mason nods, understanding settling in his eyes. What about the money? It's technically yours now. It's going to Harrison's foundation. To help other victims of financial fraud rebuild their lives. I manage a small smile. Seems fitting, doesn't it? He steps closer, careful to maintain distance. I've been seeing someone. A therapist. Trying to understand why I let myself be so completely fooled. Broken, he corrects. Why I needed the idea of family so desperately that I destroyed the real thing I had. Through the window, I watch waves crash against the shore. The beach house had seemed like such a perfect dream once. Now I understand that dreams aren't about places or possessions, they're about the truth we build them on. I got a job offer, I tell him. In Chicago. Head of department. The position you always wanted. I start next month. Mason moves to the window, his reflection overlapping with mine in the glass. I never said I was sorry. Not really. Not for everything. I know. Does that make it worse? That I understand now, when it's too late. I turn to face him fully. It's not about being too late, Mason. It's about being too different. We're not the same people who bought this house. He reaches into his pocket, pulling out our divorce papers. His signature is fresh at the bottom. I hope Chicago knows how lucky they are to get you. As I take the papers, our fingers brush. For a moment, I remember everything we were, everything we could have been. Then I think of everything we survived becoming instead. Goodbye, Mason. He pauses at the door. The therapist asked me something interesting. She said sometimes we chase false families because we're afraid our real ones will see who we truly are. He meets my eyes. You always saw me, Brielle. I just wasn't brave enough to look back. After he leaves, I walk through each room one last time. In the master bedroom, I find a small envelope tucked into the box of my things. Inside is a photo I thought was lost, Mason and me on the day we first viewed this house, both of us beaming with possibility. I don't tear it up. Instead, I leave it on the mantel, a small piece of truth for the next family to find. Let them wonder about our story, about the lessons hidden in these walls. Outside, Jessica waits in her car. Ready? I lock the door, dropping the key into an envelope for the realtor. You know what's strange? I thought getting justice would feel like victory. Doesn't it? No, I say, watching the sun glint off the windows of the house that was never really ours. It feels like freedom.